He just wanted to play catch. But what he found deep in the woods will haunt him forever. 12-year-old Devin thought it was just another lazy Saturday until he stumbled upon something strange in the forest, a perfectly formed circle of sticks. What started as a harmless game turned into something no one could explain. Objects thrown in vanished, only to return with unnatural force. But the real terror began when they threw in something alive. What came out changed everything. If you ever see this in the woods, run. But before we start our story, smash the like button, make sure to subscribe, and hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any new stories. It was a normal day and Devin wanted to play catch with his dad, but he had an online meeting so he could not come along. Devin frowned. That was the same excuse he always gave, and the same follow-up he always had. We'll do it another day. The treehouse. To a 12-year-old, a treehouse was the perfect place for him to just get away from his problems and be himself. It was the one place where both he and Reese could hang out. They went when they were sad, mad, or just bored out of their minds. It was their little getaway. In short, it was their spot. But how did they find it? They had found the treehouse one day while looking through the woods for buried treasure. They didn't find any treasure, but they did stumble upon the treehouse. It seemed to be abandoned. It wasn't too far from the residential area, and both boys agreed that it was likely built by someone who had grown too old to use it. But then came the hard part. Taking one look, both boys knew without a doubt that it was a dump. Seeing an opportunity, they decided to fix it up. Cleaning up the treehouse wasn't easy, but the end product was worth it. Reese was Devin's best friend and most often co-conspirator. The boys had met years before when Reese had moved in next door. Devin's family had gone over to introduce themselves. This was when Devin discovered that Reese had the latest Xbox. Together, the boys sat down and played all day, till the introduction turned into a sleepover, which led to many. Reese and Devin were the closest friends, but also very different from each other. Reese was a daredevil. He liked to act first and deal with the consequences later, but Devin liked to think ahead and avoid as much trouble as possible. But together they were rascals in a pod. But soon these friends would face a troubling situation. Devin was in the woods now. It would only be a few more feet until he made it to their getaway. He stopped suddenly, his eyes catching something. Devin felt a cold wash through him. The figure was still a distance, so he could only make a partial identity. He decided that he would get a closer look at whatever ominous figure was perched deeper into the woods. It was a circle of sticks. On closer look, it didn't seem as scary, but Devin couldn't fight the ominous feeling. But still, curiosity got the better of him. He approached it cautiously. The closer he got, the larger the figure seemed. Whoever had built it had spent a long time on it. He attempted to get a better view, but was shocked to note something strange. He tried to go around it to get a better view of the thing, but was shocked to find that there was none. The sticks took up all the space on the path. The only thing he could see was the front and side. Deciding he needed to do some more investigating, he looked down at Excalibur and lifted it upwards. Slowly, he inserted the stick into the hole of the circle, and then it happened. Suddenly, like a vacuum, the hole absorbed the stick, forcing him to let go. He lay on the floor, feet tingling in fear and anticipation. He couldn't believe his eyes. He checked his fingers once more, searching for the stick or a logical explanation to what he had witnessed, but nothing happened. The feeling was exhilarating. He could feel his heart beating faster. Then he had an idea. He was going to test a theory he had come up with. He ran over to a tree and grabbed an acorn off the ground. He went up to the circle and chucked the acorn in. He waited a minute, but it felt like hours as he watched the circle, panting from the excitement. Finally, like the stick, the acorn came out, whizzing past his head. He stared at the circle as if scared it would disappear before nodding his head in determination. Turning his body away from it, he ran speedily. He went home and grabbed the football from his bedroom. Soon he was running back to where he had come from, his mind focused on one thing only. Soon he was back at the spot. He got into a throwing stance, stretched his arm backwards, winding up the shot, and then threw. Of course, I missed the hole, he thought to himself. He ran and grabbed the ball, got closer to the hole and threw it. This time it went in. A minute passed, and then the ball popped right back out and bounced back to him. Smiling, he prepared another throw. He stared as the ball flew, but sighed in frustration when he missed the hole. He was excited. He found himself thinking that maybe he wouldn't need his dad to play catch with. After all, he got into the stance, stretched his arm backwards, and chucked it as hard as he could. This time the ball went in, no problem. A minute went by, and he stood waiting in front of the circle. Suddenly, the ball came out fast, spiraling and hitting him dead in the stomach. The unexpected and hard throw left him in pain. He fell to his knees in shock and pain. He wasn't expecting it to come out that hard. That's when he realized that it all depended on the strength of his throw. If he threw it weakly, the circle would toss it back with the same momentum. Throw it hard and it comes back hard. Lesson learned, he braced himself once more, ready to toss the ball again. This time he steadied himself to receive it. He played catch with the circle of wood for a good hour, then made his way home. I couldn't wait to show Reese. He would be off punishment the next day, and Devin was psyched to show him his new discovery. "I got something to show you," Devin typed quickly, excitement building as he waited for a reply. Finally it came. "Really? Nice. I hate it here." It was Saturday, which meant they had the whole day free to play. Devin sent another message. "Dude, you're in for a surprise." After brushing his teeth, he ran next door and asked Reese's parents if they could hang out. With permission granted, the two boys rushed to the treehouse. "Whoa, what the hell is that thing?" Reese stared at the strange circle of sticks Devin had found earlier. Devin grinned. "It's a portal." They stood in awe, unsure of what to do next. "Throw this into it," Devin said, handing Reese a football. With one smooth motion, Reese threw it in. They watched quietly until it finally popped back out, landing near their feet. Reese picked it up and inspected it carefully. "What's on the other side?" he asked. They spent the next 30 minutes tossing different objects into the portal, rocks, acorns, even a shoe. Everything came back unchanged. "Maybe it's another dimension," Devin wondered aloud. "What if there's another version of us in there?" Reese considered it, then casually said, "Stick your head in." Devin froze. "What?" "No way," he replied. Reese smirked and teased him, calling him a chicken, flapping his arms mockingly. But Devin stood firm. "I'm not doing it. What if there's a monster or something?" "Don't you want to know who's been throwing the ball back?" Reese asked. Devin hadn't thought about that before. "What if it's just a vacuum?" he suggested, remembering their recent lesson on space. Suddenly, Reese stepped closer to the portal. "I'm going to look through." Devin panicked. "Don't do it, Reese." But Reese was determined. "You can't be a chicken forever. I want to know who's on the other side." Devin's mind raced for a solution. "Wait, we haven't tested it on anything living yet." Reese paused. "And? If it's safe for something alive, then you can go ahead." Reese agreed. They searched the yard and finally found a small lizard. Both boys hesitated, unsure if they should actually go through with it. After a reluctant nod, they gently tossed the lizard into the portal. Nothing happened at first. A tense silence followed as they waited. Reese tried to stay confident, arms waving dramatically. Then suddenly there was a soft gust. The lizard flew out, unconscious, and struck Reese in the chest, knocking him backward. Devin, standing behind, was hit with something warm and wet. The two stared in shock at the small creature lying motionless on the grass. It was a horrifying scene that sent both boys skirting back across the grass. The boys stared at each other and the stains on their clothes, neither of them able to look in the direction of the portal. Bodies shivering in fear, they got up and ran towards the treehouse. They ran for about 5 minutes before they finally made it to their secret spot. The boys sat in silence for almost an hour. It was getting late now, and they would need to each make their way back home. Both boys decided they would tell their parents the next day. It was Sunday and their families liked to have brunch together. They would break the news then. Devin and Reese both walked home together, saying their goodbyes at the door and heading in to give their moms a big hug. The next day, Devin's dad woke him up. He opened his eyes, hoping it had all been a dream, but when he stared at his laundry bin, the stains were still there. Devin's family were hosting the brunch his week, and when Reese's family made their appearance, the boys stared at each other, saying nothing as they readied themselves for the announcement they were about to make. The family listened quietly as the boys explained what had happened. At first thinking they were playing pretend, however, the boys presented Devin's shirt as evidence. Soon the parents were calling the cops, and together they searched for the portal, using the map and direction the terrified boys gave them. But something even more shocking happened. Both Devin and Reese are doing great and healing from the experience. The portal was gone. Just like that, the place was empty. Lucky for the boys, there were markings where it had stood that proved they had not been lying. The police handed the case over, and both parents were simply glad the boys were safe. However, they were no longer allowed in the woods. Instead, their parents created a new treehouse in the yard for them to use.